Motorhead Garage, the program that each week introduces you to and shows you how to install the latest and exciting and innovative products for your vehicle. Motorhead Garage is presented by NHOU Protective Coatings. Now here's your host, Dave Dobson.
Welcome to another edition of Motorhead Garage presented by NHOU Protective Coatings. Now we've got all these tools in the toolbox, but one of the most useful and coolest tools we have is Clamp Tight. It'll replace your hose clamps, and we'll show you how. If you haven't seen Clamp Tight before, you're in for a good education here. And if you have seen it, but you haven't been convinced, I think we're going to win you over here. Nikki, you're the expert on Clamp Tight, so give us the basic overview of what it is.
Clamp Tight is a tool that makes hose clamps out of wire. It's a 360-degree seal with no flat spots. You can use it on almost everything under the hood of the car, around the house, boat. It's an extremely versatile tool. Some of the best things that you can use it on too is CV boots. So power steering lines, you can use it as a reducer if you need to, wiring, boosts, so which tend to blow off most of the time because the hose clamps that you're using typically do flatten it out and blow off due to the vibration. The great thing too about it is you're using round wire, and you're also pushing and pulling on the wire, so it's creating equal pressure all the way around. So that instead of obviously your other hose clamps that have edges, which will cut through, especially on those delicate CV boots, it's going to eventually cut through. You're going to break whatever you're working on, and now you're complete replacement there.
It's a better way to do things. It's also better looking, and we know a lot of hot rodders that want to use these on their cars, but they want to give it the old look, so they slide the old hose clamp over it, incognito there.
Yep, slide it right over top. So now you're back to your original, but you know it's being held properly underneath for sure.
And it looks complicated, but it's actually pretty easy to do, so run us through the procedure here.
You got it. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your wire. What I do is just bring the ends together, make a loop. Feed your ends through that loop. Now, one time around is great for just, attaching something, but pretty much anything you're going to run pressure through, what you want to do is go around at least 2 times.
And how long does the wire need to be in the first place?
What you're going to do is you measure around your project 4 times and add 12 inches. Okay. So that gives you the enough wire that you need for the double wrap clamp. So we go through, make sure you're not cross, twisted, or overlapped. Now, take the tool, feed the nose through the loop, then you're going to wrap it around, twist it together. There's a little notch at the bottom of the tool. That loop's going to slide right in there. Then you just start turning. So as I said, what it's doing is it's pushing and pulling on that wire. And you don't have to worry about it over twisting the wires like safety wire pliers would and causing it a weak spot and causing it to break. So you don't have to worry about that. The tool's going to tell you when it's getting tight, you're going to feel it. So it's actually going to start getting a little harder to turn. One of the things you want to look for too is you want it to start getting nice and flush. So the wires are also going to get inside of that barbed if you're working with a barbed fitting, so it's going to give that complete seal.
And a seal all the way around, which is what hose clamps aren't going to give you.
Absolutely. So now when it's tight enough, you're ready to close it off. Flip it 180 degrees. If you don't have that much space, just past 90 is all you need. We're going to go all the way. Loosen it, pull the tool back, simply cut it, push the ends down. Nice, clean, no cutting hose clamp.
What was that? Nice and smooth. I've cut myself on so many hose clamps, and this is so refreshing just to have that.
Just a nice, clean, nice custom hose clamp. It's the right size every time.
And tons of applications. We'll show you a practical application now that we know how to use it. Now, Kevin's over here on the ATV, and Kevin, what you got working here?
Well, obviously, this owner's a Clamp Tight fan already. He used it on his grip to make sure it didn't come off, and we know that's a real problem, them sliding off.
Yeah.
See how nice and clean that is, and he's not cutting his hands up.
Simple solution.
So down here on the radiator hose, I've already fixed the top one, and I've already got my clamp all ready to go here on the bottom, so I'm just going to go ahead and tighten it up.
And we saw the way that looked, by the way, beforehand with both hose clamps on it. They were getting kind of tired, and it doesn't create a great seal around there anyway, so now we're going to take care of that problem.
Absolutely. So I'm about snug and tight. I'm going to go ahead and flip that over. Back my tool off. And cut that off. And then press that down. And that is our brand new hose clamp. Nice seal, 360 degrees, no flat spots. And if we want to fire it up,
we'll turn this baby on here. And there we go. No issues with that. I love it. And it's great too because if you're out there on the trails, you're not bringing hose clamps with you to make any repairs on a high pressure line or anything like that, but you bring a little coil of wire and your clamp tight tool and you're ready to go. But clamp tight will get you back on the road, it'll get you back on the trail, back in the air. There's all kinds of applications for it. You can learn all about them at clamptighttools.com. We will return with more Motorhead Garage presented by NHOU Protective Coatings in just a few.
Motorhead Garage, presented by NHOU Protective Coatings, is brought to you by RockAuto.com. All the parts your car will ever need. Borla, the world's most winning exhaust. Magic Creeper, the most versatile creeper ever. And by NH Oil Undercoating, the official oil-based rust prevention system.
Welcome back to Motorhead Garage presented by NHOU Protective Coatings. Now, the landscape of pipe bending has been the same for decades, almost 40 years. But Joe, you at Rogue Fabrications have changed all that. How is this machine an evolution from what we've seen in the industry?
Well, all the machines that were out there are all very similar, and they bend horizontal, and they require being mounted to your floor because they use a big ratchet mechanism to bend the tubing. So 10 years ago, I was in my garage and I wanted a bender, and I wasn't thrilled with the ones that were out there. So I wanted something that was portable, hydraulically operated, and affordable. And then after that, I really decided bending vertically was the way to go, because if you bend a 20-foot stick in half, you end up drawing a 20-foot diameter circle in your garage. I don't know about you, but my two-car garage has never had that much room in it. So we came out with the M600, and that was in 2012, and it checked all the boxes.
Talk about affordability. How's it compared to other models out there?
This is basically our entry-level model. It's an M600. It's got an 1.25 inch diameter die in it right now. It's air over hydraulic, so it's powered by your air compressor. You can also pump it with hand power if you ever don't have compressed air. This machine is a weld-together kit, shipped anywhere in the U.S. with the die, is under $1,000. Extremely affordable. We, of course, offer them welded and powder-coated just like this for a little bit more money.
And if you're like us here on Motorhead Garage, you can also get it wrapped with a very cool design as well.
Yeah, exactly. And the fully featured one that's on the cart, you can take that basic model and grow into this as time allows and money allows, or you can just start off with this. This whole setup is electric hydraulic, so it's super fast. It'll stop automatically if you set it to do so. Comes with the tube notching setup for cutting all the copes, and it's about $6,000, depends on which dies you get, but there's a whole range of options and features, and they all fit the base machine. So you can start small and grow big.
And they want one right now. They dial you up. How quickly can they get one?
As of right now, 2 to 3 days for a kit to ship out, close to a week for a welded and painted machine. We try to stock every single thing that's on our webpage for the very reason of people do want things promptly.
So show me some of the different things you can do with this and some stuff you can't do with other machines out there.
So the stuff that our machine can do that most it competes with can also do tubing, just round tubing, square tubing, obviously the same thing but square, and pipe, which is your schedule thicknesses, like 1.25 inch, schedule 40, used for fencing and things like that. We can do the average range of sizes with the regular machine, just like any other machine can. The unique thing is you can attach a mandrel attachment to this machine, which puts a support inside the tube, and that allows you to bend ultra thin and exotic alloys. This is 1.5 inch titanium. And titanium isn't even tested by any of our competitors. It's a really challenging metal to bend, and our machine has no trouble with it whatsoever. And that's on the thin end. Thin is challenging relative to the diameter. What's easy from a geometry standpoint, but challenging from capacity, is thick stuff. So we've bent, just testing, in this machine right here, which is our M600 XHD, 2-inch solid steel bar. So this was bent at room temperature. We video recorded it just to prove it to people, because people see it in person, they pick it up and they say there's no way. It will bend almost anything that'll fit in it. Obviously, if you swapped that out for solid chromoly that was heat treated, it, I'm sure, caused damage.
What about notching and joints and that sort of thing?
Our Verse notcher's attached to this machine. That one's powered by a hand drill. You can clamp in your bench vise or just mount to the cart like it is there. And it does all the notching for all of your joints. These are obviously small little pieces of what could be a roll cage and the various welded members within it. And you just drive the hole saw through. You match the hole saw to the size of the tubing. This one's not matched. And when you drive it through, it leaves a nice clean cope ready to be welded. It's honestly a real breeze to weld these joints when they fit this close.
Let's talk about hole saws. This is a typical one you get at your home center. It's only 1.5 inches deep. So obviously a pain when you're doing joints like that, and you've come up with a solution.
Yeah, this is actually a 4-inch deep one. This is matching depth. This is 1.75 inches. So this allows you to get all the way through even high-angled notches with just a single cut.
Very cool. And I love your website. You've got a lot of great support out there.
So we have spent a lot of time building up the webpage as a resource center for tube bending, and not just for our brand. It really works with any brand of tubing bender. The main thing we have is our video series. You can just click on videos on our webpage, and there's a whole bunch of videos on how to use the machine, how to to accomplish S bends, like this bend here. And also there's a technical index, which includes design tools, tube capacities, and also just explanations for complete beginners on what tube benders are used for, the various types, what type this is, what type it isn't. And then there's also a forum. So that's great for after-hours help from your peers, or just sharing your projects, or getting feedback on anything, even welding.
We've seen the materials you can bend, and there's a wide variety, but also some of the bends this can do are pretty remarkable and unique in the industry.
So when we originally designed this machine, we had a clamping system that is separate from the bending die. The benefit to this is cost and durability. It's less expensive to make them, which makes our dies affordable, but it's also way, way tougher. So we can bend these 2-inch solid steel bars and never have a die crack or break. The biggest benefit is the ease of prototyping. So you can take these clamp blocks out, attached to the tubing, and then you can test fit it on your project and then put it right back in the machine and resume the bend. The other half is being able to do S bends. So because you can flip the hole being on top or bottom of the material in the machine, you can just invert your clamp block, advance the bender, and put the pin in, and you can have the material being bent away from the die and then bend it toward the die, making the S bend. And that has always been the huge challenge with benders, is how close can I put my bends? This one has generously spaced pivots, so it can bend really thick materials, but because the clamping system is so versatile, it can still do the true zero-space S bend, which is something that no other bender I know of can do. And this is a very shallow one, but there's no gap between bends A and B here.
Joe, this is really a revolution in bending, and if you're looking for top quality fabrication tools made in the USA, check them out at roguefab.com. We shall return with more Motorhead Garage presented by NHOU Protective Coatings right after this.
Motorhead Garage, presented by NHOU Protective Coatings, coming to you from Borla Commerce Park.
Welcome back to Motorhead Garage, presented by NHOU Protective Coatings. Now, if you're like me, you get a little squeamish when you're installing accessories in your car. John, that means drilling or cutting some interior panels, but at Specialty Performance Parts, you have a solution for that.
Yeah, we started our company, Specialty Performance Parts, to really solve the problem that I think has really been in the automotive industry in general, which is all the people that are cutting and drilling and hacking and splicing this wire and that wire, and it's like, man, there's got to be an easier solution.
And that feels like a really permanent change. This is a vehicle you've spent $70,000 on, and suddenly you're cutting these interior panels that you may not be able to find again.
And what if you sell the vehicle?
Right.
Does it degrade the value and warranty in a lot of cases, especially with wiring? So we have developed a series of products in-house, and we have manufactured for our consumers so that you can add brackets for lights, for hardware, wiring, and so on. One of the things that we're really excited about is we've got a new line of wire harnesses that we filed for patent on that is going to allow you to literally plug and play just about any series of applications for any lighting scenario that you may have in your truck. Regardless of whether you have a rigid light or a Baja Designs light or Diode Dynamics or any other series light, you can plug in an adapter and it will directly connect to that series light, regardless of what light you have.
You're not having to deal with a lot of problem solving,
Right, yeah, the manufacturer gives you a bundle of wire and they say figure it out. In this case, we've helped you figure that out.
Taking the intimidation out of all of it. What if you need a relay somewhere in the system, and that can be a complicated process?
Exactly, and that's very important as well. So if you've got a vehicle that needs a relay because it doesn't have a built-in relay with switches already built in, for example, like the standard F-150, we have a switch panel for that, then you can simply add on a relay to any of our existing harnesses. It connects to your battery, and then it's going to connect to your switch right here. And that allows you to do that. So regardless, you're still going to be able to use those harnesses in any application, whether you do or don't need a relay.
If you want to add multiple accessories, you can just daisy chain all that together, right?
Exactly. Depending on what it is, you can split off and put 2 lights on one harness. You can combine various lights onto one switch if you've got multiples onto multiple harnesses and so on. Of course, we all know with electrical wiring, it's very important to make sure that you check your amperage rating because you might exceed that on a wire.
And how can you help me with that? Do you have resources online?
Yeah, we have a chart that is going to help you pick the right harness for the right application and the amperage that you're pulling.
But what if I'm an electrical dummy, which I am? How can you help me there? Do you have some videos?
Yes, we do tutorial videos and installation videos that'll help you through that as well.
If all else fails, can I call you?
Absolutely. We have a line directly to our tech support.
Well, the harnesses are amazing, and the switch panel is really cool too. Standard F-150, you're going to have a little tray like this, and it's a nice space for holding a couple of pens or something like that. But if you want to add some accessories, you can replace it with this panel that you guys have here, and tell me how that works.
So one of the things that we early developed were for the 15 to 20 F-150s. And if you didn't have a Raptor, for example, that had switches up above, and you needed some switches to add lighting or accessories to your vehicle, you really didn't have much of an option for that. You know, you could drill a hole down in the console, you could open the console lid, drill a hole, put a switch there. There's a lot of metal in the truck, so it's really difficult to pick that up as far as where you're going to put that switch. So we developed, and this is a fully patented design, and it's actually a utility patent, so that we're going to be able to offer this switch panel in multiple vehicles. We're already in development for the 2021 F-150, and we're going to have these coming out soon for like the Jeeps and Dodge and Chevy and so on.
Well, we know with your harnesses, it's simple to hook up. How easy is it to operate?
Really easy. We'll just turn on the ignition.
All right, do your fog lights
Yep.
there. You got some more lights, and your reverse lights all right there.
Yep.
The touch of a button. Very cool. You've made mounting lights and accessories on the outside of the truck easier as well.
Absolutely. One of the things that we like to do is to design parts that are easily integrated into your vehicle. So all of our brackets and hardware that work with all these lights will be adjustable, and for the most part, as much as possible, zero modification, direct bolt-on.
If you're looking for an easy way to accessorize your vehicle, to mount lights and to hook them up through the electrical system, check them out at spvparts.com. You're going to love what they can do for your vehicle. We'll return right after this with more Motorhead Garage presented by NHOU Protective Coatings.
Motorhead Garage, presented by NHOU Protective Coatings, is brought to you by Custom Auto Sound, the originator of classic car OEM fit radio since 1977. Magic Creeper, the most versatile creeper ever. True Street Performance, the fastest Hemis in the world. And by Aegis, best darn seat covers.
This is Motorhead Garage presented by NHOU Protective Coatings, and we are rolling right along. Now let's talk about tire balancing. Why do you need to even balance your tires in the first place? Well, over time, the tires start to wear unevenly, and that causes a weight distribution issue around the tire that actually changes, and that weight imbalance creates heavy spots. Those heavy spots can cause vibrations or even shaking in the steering wheel as you drive. And the forces inside a tire mean that a 6-ounce heavy spot can become a 60-pound imbalance when you're going at full speed. Your tire turns at about 550 revolutions per minute on the highway. That means there's a 60-pound shock wave acting on your suspension every single minute, going up and down. So, tire balancing evens out that weight distribution. It gives you a smoother ride, plus your tires will wear more evenly, which means they'll last longer. That is safer, and it'll save you money in the long run. For ages, the only way to balance a tire was lead weights fastened to the rim on the inside. So you had a lead weight like this one that's clipped to the tire, or it was held on by double-sided tape. But let's face it, wheel weights are ugly, and they can damage your custom wheels if they're put on improperly, and they're held in place only by the double-sided tape or a weak little clamp. That means they're exposed to snow and rain and all kinds of rocks and debris, and it's just a matter of time before they come off, and that'll leave you with an even bigger balance issue than you had before. The solution to all of these problems? Checkered flag tire beads. Checkered flag tire beads are little beads that you actually insert into the tire, and when the beads rotate in the tire, the centrifugal force naturally pulls the beads to the tread. The beads collect at low spots, and they balance your tire perfectly. It's as simple as that. The tire beads are inside the tire, so you don't lose them like you would lose a traditional lead weight, and you won't have to rebalance your tire later because the beads constantly adjust to the tire as it wears and changes shape. One shot of tire beads and you're good for the life of the tire, and I tell you what, old-fashioned lead weights cannot do that. We've seen checkered flag tire beads on Motorhead Garage and our sister show Performance TV, and we've shown the best way to install the beads at home. You just pop the bead and use a floor jack and a ratchet strap to separate the tire from the wheel. Now check the charts on the website to see how many ounces you need to put in your tire. And if you're lucky enough to have a tire mounting machine, it's even faster, of course. Or when you're getting new tires put on your car, take your beads with you to the shop and ask the technician to put them on your new tires, and they'll be balanced for life. If your tires are already mounted and you don't want to, or you can't take them off the vehicle, there's liquid tire beads. It couldn't be easier to balance your tires with the liquid. Liquid tire beads come with a tool to remove the Schrader valve from the valve stem, and while the air is escaping, you can look online once again to see how much liquid you'll need. It's not the same as the regular beads. Make sure you check it out. Once the air is out of the tire, you can go to work. Attach the tube to the packet, and we use some tape just to make sure it didn't pop off, and pour the proper amount of liquid into the tire. Liquid tire beads do not contain any alcohol, so it won't vaporize in the heat. And as far as the cold, well, it's good down to 50 below zero, so the liquid will not freeze. Liquid tire beads not recommended for tires with TPMS sensors, but regular tire beads are safe for TPMS. And I do want to let you know that these products are not meant for small cars, hot rods, or cars with low profile tires, but they are perfect for semi-truck tires, motorhomes, motorcycles, ATVs, pickup trucks, and SUVs and tires like that. Now, tires are really expensive, but if you keep them balanced with checkered flag tire beads, they'll last longer and your vehicle will run more efficiently. And that's great news for your vehicle at home. But what if you own a fleet of vehicles? Maybe a fleet of pickup trucks or semi-trucks? Well, guess what? You are going to save all kinds of money. First of all, you'll get better fuel mileage across your entire fleet, and there's going to be less wear and tear on your suspension parts. And your tires will last longer, so you won't have to replace them as often. In fact, some fleets report as much as a 30% gain in the life of a tire when using checkered flag tire beads. And let's talk about the safety issue. Tires will not wear as fast, and your drivers will have a much more comfortable ride. They won't have all that shimmying and shaking, so they won't have all the fatigue. I've seen the science behind it. I've seen it working, but you don't have to take my word for it. Check them out online. Get some for yourself, and you can see the difference. You can increase your tire life by as much as 30%. Get balanced. Check them out at 4tirebeads.com. We have reached the end of the line for this episode, but we're going to do it once again next week, same time, same sandbox. In the meantime, if you have a product you'd like to see on the show, email Jeff at masterstv.com. From our entire crew here, until next week, we'll see you here on Motorhead Garage, presented by NHOU Protective Coatings. So long.